G'day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan Metal video. In this video I'm going to try something different, and basically I've decided to kind of do a little bit of a Wheel of Misfortune. So I asked all my friends for their favorite and least favorite categories in the game. Androids based on a Cell team, Special Pose, Wicked Bloodline, Super Saiyans. Special Pose was the least favorite for like 5 different people, and I'm not too certain why. But hey, so I asked a whole bunch of people for basically their least or most favorite teams. I'm going to spin the wheel and we're going to use that category to build a team. We'll then pick a challenge and then we'll pick a stage to do that challenge in. And we'll talk about the challenges just now. But basically, let's get going. Let's spin the wheel and let's see, well, how lucky or unlucky we get. Not entirely certain about which one it's going to be. So, and Special Pose it is. So, Special Pose, pretty obviously the least favorite for quite a few of my friends, but it is going to be pretty okay. The next thing we choose is our challenge. So the challenges here are pretty straightforward. We've got no LRs, which is using no LRs. We've got the use no items, basically no items or sport memories. We've got a lore appropriate team, which is something interesting. It's basically I can only use characters that were actually fighting together or fighting in the same scene. And then we've got same character, which is kind of the same as lore appropriate, but I was thinking more same character has to literally be the exact same name. Can't be any different, so that makes it quite challenging. So we've got here lore appropriate. So lore appropriate means that for a Special Pose, I'm going to have to use, I can't use like Toppo and Jiren in the same team with Gotenks, which is pretty lame. Because obviously that means there's a lot less options overall in terms of team. So going to have to sort that out as well. And then finally an event. So there's just 3 kinds of content from which to choose from. Basically just ESBR or SBR if that's more appropriate. Then we have the Gods event, and then we have LGEGT and Legendary Vegeta event. So we get SBR or ESBR. We'll choose one of those stages to take on with the team we have built. And so the team I've gone for is a Special Pose team. Lore appropriate means I can't use Jiren or Toppo. I can't use Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 because neither of those characters actually appear technically in the anime alongside Gotenks. Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 do technically fight in the movie, the Janemba movie, whilst Gotenks also technically fights in the Janemba movie, and there are some TV specials while they fight, but I thought that's a bit of a reach. So we've gone with just a Goten and Trunks / Gotenks team. The Goten and Trunks LR obviously technically transforms into Gotenks, so I'm kind of, diverting a little bit around that, but hey, it is what it is. So because of the lore appropriate challenge, technically speaking, I couldn't do some, I would have to include signature pose units that are within the same canon universe. So whether that's manga wise or anime wise, they have to be at least within the same scene. Like I can't, for example, build a Majin Buu Saga team and have Goku and Vegeta turn into Vegito, but also have Kid Buu on the same team. I could have Buuhan, for example, because they obviously fought against each other in the same team, and that would be acceptable. But it has to be units that are from at least a similar period, even within the same saga. So like Android Cell Saga, I can't stick Android 17 and Android 18 in with Perfect Form of Cell, because I can't have Perfect Form of Cell if I have Android 17 and 18. I could shirk it and go for a transforming first form Cell, but I think that's what makes it interesting. Similarly, if you're building an Android Cell Saga team, I can't necessarily have, for example, like Goku, Super Saiyan Goku, and then a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and also a first form Cell, because first form Cell never fought against Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So it's more just to make it like a slightly more stringent team build requirement rather than anything else. Of course, in terms of this team build, basically it just left me down with Gotank's units, and fortunately Gotank cycles through his transformations pretty rapidly, so I didn't really have too many issues with including things like Super Saiyan Gotenks, Super Saiyan 3 all in one team. Including the Goten and Trunks unit was a little bit of a sneaky deaky on my part, but I think they count because they turn into all the different various fusions, and they kind of encompass that time period from when they're training on Kami's tower to when they are, technically absorbed by Buu. Now, in theory, if Buuhan, or Buu-Tanks I should say, was on signature pose, I'd be able to use him. If Ultimate Gohan was on signature pose, I'd be able to use him. If Piccolo from that period was on signature pose, I'd be able to use him. And if Super Saiyan 3 Goku, no. So yeah, Super Saiyan 3 Goku would be like where I called it, like I wouldn't be able to use him. So yeah, there are some pretty interesting kind of, things you can do with the team build and all of that. Under law appropriate, obviously the other challenges are quite self-explanatory. No items or support memories is no items or support memories. I don't know if I should separate them, but I think keeping them together is, pretty decent, I would say. I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping them together. And then using the same character is obviously using the same character. I don't know if maybe I should change that or if I should come up with a different one. And then we have the final one, which is no LRs, which is not too bad, but it includes all LRs, so it's not just like summonable LRs, it's free-to-play LRs, it's any LR unit, which could make some stages quite interesting and a little bit more difficult, I think. So yeah, in terms of, that's obviously the challenges, but I think in terms of the, whole kind of Wheel of Misfortune, I think is what I'm going to call it. I just thought it'd be a lot of fun to kind of just, basically make my own Dokkan challenges, just to spice things up every now and then. Obviously I've got the free-to-play challenge series going on as well. I'll do a no item run series eventually as well. But those are already pre-established challenges within, I don't want to say Dokkan, but like within the Dokkan community. So I thought it'd be fun to just do something completely left field. I have seen, I wouldn't be an honest man if I said I hadn't seen a couple people try a similar thing, but I'd really like to make it a regular thing. Once every week or 2 weeks, do a Wheel of Misfortune challenge, just because I think it'll be interesting, it'll be quite fun. Now, obviously there's a couple ways to slice and dice signature pose as a category. It's could have done, for example, a Planet Namek Saga event with only the Ginyu Force, but I feel like that would have been a little bit not inappropriate, but I mean, I could have 100% done that. 100%. The issue is mainly finding a second friend Ginyu lead, but you could definitely have done it 100%. It will be something pretty interesting, and I could definitely have tried that. Obviously here I am doing the Majin Buu Saga kind of ESBR, which generally left me with pretty decent options. The only other thing I think realistically I could have possibly done is a Universal Survival Saga team, but to do that I would have needed Jiren, and full power Jiren is not on signature pose, so kind of leaves me with a little options, or with less options than I had planned. In terms of this team, in terms of like the Majin Buu Saga based signature pose team, obviously I'm excluding a lot of decent units in the form of like the Great Saiyaman supports, the Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 free-to-play units, the Int transforming Gohan Teen Great Saiyaman unit. There's a lot of units I'm leaving on the table. I also didn't bring the AGL Gotenks, which is probably not the best decision. Whereas I could have actually used him. I think he would have been a bit better off than the physical one, considering he has an AoE stun, which is pretty good. Plus, he kind of supports like my whole team, so would have been pretty good. Should have probably brought him, but that's okay. We live and we learn. So realistically, pretty nice overall. So yeah. So other than that, I think from the challenge perspective, I think I did pretty much everything that could be done. Obviously, I would have replaced the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks with the AGL Super Saiyan Gotenks. SS3 Gotenks is okay. He's not necessarily the best overall, because he kind of does lower his defense. He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't have defense if his key goes above 11, which is pretty weird and doesn't really help him out a lot. So you'll find that a lot of times we're lucky that he's on rotation and we're using double items, or we've used 2 items, or we're just being very strong defensively, or we manage to get stuns or hold them off, or just, in general, like the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks is probably one of the worst aging units in general. Just, he does decent damage, but just does not do much else at all. So, like, we're very fortunate in that we managed to kind of prevent that situation from happening. Or when we did have him on rotation, we managed to, kind of have him do a little bit of, like, damage, or we managed to have items active, or we got significant stuns and things like that. To be honest, the rest of the team is just really good. Like, really, really good. Really strong team, really powerful team. We look AGL Super Saiyan Gotenks, which I could have used, would have been way better. But the rest of the team is really good. The EZA for Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, he's got attack and defense of 150%. He's got an additional 70% attack, defense 30%, medium chance of evading for the first 7 turns, which is pretty good. Then he massively raises his attack. He's effective against all types. With his 11 key, he greatly raises attack. With his 12 key, he's just solid, very, very good, exceptional unit. Alongside him, or at least the other pivotal units, obviously Gotenks, the Int one, just a fantastic unit. His base form is nothing really to write home about, but his second form, he greatly raises defense, which is super helpful. He has key +2, attack and defense of 100%. He has a high chance of attack of 50%, additional high chance of attack of 50%, and the same for defense. Plus he has a medium chance of launching an additional super attack, and both of those super attacks have a great chance of stunning the enemy, so a 70% stun chance, which is pretty nuts. Like, it makes him really, really strong overall. When he's Gotenks, essentially he's unstoppable. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks is probably still one of the most powerful TURs for those first couple turns that he's out. He's pretty nuts. Of course, we don't ever get to that point, unfortunately. We get close, but we don't get to that point, unfortunately. So, but still really strong and was really, really reliable. We used the physical Super Saiyan Gotenks. Also EZA, a decent unit, more appropriate to be kept in the main slot so that you can build up his defense quite quickly. But he does seal, which is super helpful, and obviously just prevents a massive amount of damage overall that does occur. So having that is a very, very helpful and strong situation. And then of course we have the strength Gotenks. Pretty good unit, obviously attack and defense of 80%. He gives all allies key +1 and attack and defense of 40% when we're facing 2 or more enemies, which is quite common in this stage. So overall pretty helpful. Also raises his attack and defense for 1 turn and does stun the enemy as well. So his stuns have also come in helpful, although he's only got a medium chance comparatively to the pretty high chances of the Int Gotenks. But that's not really an issue. Obviously, once we get to a certain stage in this final fight, ideally what you want to do is you want to be able to use items to get to the point where both Gotenks transform. You'll see I've made sure to have both Int Gotenks on the rotation as well. because it is very important to have both on rotation. It does help out a lot, and they deal out some pretty good damage overall, which is, yeah, really helpful. But mainly, obviously, we want to keep Vegito stun locked, essentially. So we want to keep him completely stunned, like the whole way through, so that we can just not have to worry about him, basically, because he hits huge. He hits like super duper hard, which, yeah, it's a bit of a problem. So we try to keep him in control with stuns, and obviously the occasional seal as well. That's our main tactic here. So the thing is this team seems to function pretty well. The stuns and everything do help. I think, honestly speaking, if there was like anything to complain about in terms of this team and its overall performance, weirdly enough, I would say that damage is kind of a bit of an issue. Like, damage gives us a lot of problems. And the reason why, like, I'd say damage gives us a lot of problems is, which is weird considering the units we have. So, Int Gotenks, his damage only really kicks off as Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. It's very decent as Super Saiyan Gotenks, but it's not necessarily huge. Physical SS3 Gotenks is actually a pretty good damage dealer, even at one dupe like mine. But the rest of the team's not great. This physical Super Saiyan Gotenks is not great. The strength Super Saiyan Gotenks is not great either. He doesn't, do a huge amount of damage in any way, shape, or form, unless he gets a crit. So the team in itself is kind of a little bit, it lacks that kind of damage. Even with their easy A, like the Super Saiyan, the Goten and Trunks LR don't just seem to be doing that big a kind of damage, which I think isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, obviously, they don't have every single link active and things like that, but yeah, it's just overall the team just seems to be lacking like a huge big time damage dealer. I know Majin Buu Saga is quite a tanky ESBR stage to be taking on, but yeah, it is just pretty nuts how little damage there is on this team. And I think it's just because a lot of them lack built-in crits or lack effective against all types. So even though they're here and they have a decent stats, like 4 million attack stats, 5 million attack stats, 2.6 million attack stats, you're not seeing that take a lot of effect because you're not getting crits, you don't have attacks effective against all types. There's just not a lot going on from that perspective. But overall, obviously the team still functions really well. The stunning basically means this final fight, once you get the Super Saiyan Gotenks, is pretty much wrapped up and super duper easy, which is great. So it makes your life a lot easier, honestly speaking, to just have all of that sorted out. And yeah, I think the challenge was pretty fun. Obviously, a pretty nice one to start with. I think, which is cool. It's nice to just kind of work on the concept and try it out and see how things go, rather than like being stuck with like a super difficult one or something like that and not being able to do it. Now, in terms of not being able to do the challenge, I think you guys can let me know in the comments. Should there be like a forfeit or like a forfeit wheel or something that we throw in at the end? Obviously, I succeeded here. Should it be attempts limited? Like, should I only have 3 attempts or something like that? You guys can let me know, and we'll just adjust the series as always. And we'll just make it so that it's something really fun and enjoyable to watch. I'll change the categories each time, but I'm quite happy with the challenges and everything else remaining pretty much the same. But that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care, stay safe, and bye.